And we are here today with Karolee. Actually, I should have asked.
Lovan. Think of McDonald's. Loving it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And I'm going to Lovan. Like McLovin from one of my favorite movies. Okay.
That's another one.
Okay, there we go.
My husband actually has the MC on his tattoo because he has his last name, so it's McLovin.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yep.
Okay. I once had a futon, and the futon's name was McLovin. Hello, and welcome to the Essence of You podcast. I am your host, Steph Lokelani, and I am here with Karolee Lovan. She is a behavior life coach and behavioral interventionist. Karolee works at the intersection of behavioral psychology and practical coaching. She doesn't lecture. She listens until her clients truly hear themselves. As a behavior life coach with a specialized background in intervention, Karolee moves past the traditional noise of self-help to focus entirely on the mechanics of human behavior. Oh, I'm excited. Using her proprietary pivot point method, she helps clients move through the why and then into the how of sustainable change. And I usually like to include a little story about how we met. And we met through an online Facebook group. Is it Boise Business Babes?
Yep.
Okay.
Boise Business Babes.
Because I'm on a few groups, but I thought it was that one. And Karolee had posted, does anyone produce a podcast? I'd like to be a guest. And I saw it and I was like, nope, get back to work. So I got myself back to work. And then I was like, I think I need to respond to that. And I did. And now we're here.
Yay. I'm super excited. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to start diving in because there is so much to learn about you. I want to start with what got you into being a behavior life coach and behavioral interventionist.
Well, it's something that actually chose me more than I chose it. I have always been drawn to helping individuals that are, so to say, that underdog, even when I was in elementary school, things like that. And as I became an adult, I was like, I need a job. And I found myself working with adults that were in special ed, in their own homes, things like that. And I was so easily able to connect with them and build bonds with them, and they would be able to achieve their goals. And most people would get the holy tar beat out of them because they would force it. And I would work with these clients and they just did what they needed to do. Don't get me wrong, I definitely had my moments. But I then realized I need to educate myself and I need to get into education, work towards being a special ed teacher. Like that was my goal. And so through that journey, I worked as a paraprofessional for many years. I then got my certification as a behavioral interventionist. I went through and I got my bachelor's degree. I spent 1 year as a special ed teacher, and that changed my world.
I bet.
I realized then, as a special ed teacher, I don't get to work with my students. I get to push papers. I get to write IEPs. I get to do all of the behind the scenes. And when I went to my district and I said, I want to work with my students, I had to fight for half an hour of teachable time in front of my students. And I finally got it approved, went forward, realized this was not the path for me. And so I stepped back and just kind of, went back into being just a behaviorist. And so I spent that. And then Idaho's laws and ideology and morals and ethics of special ed became very different than mine. And so I stepped out of it, again, completely away, focused on my family. And then everything behavior still kept drawing me backwards. And I'm like, I am so passionate. So I started doing my own research, doing different things that would help me start to develop what are good methods, what are bad methods to help promote my kids. And because at that time they were coming into the teenage years. And let me tell you, behavior is everything in a teenage world. And so I went through different self-help books, help kind of hone in my path of what I need to do to help my kids. So again, seeing those behaviors, helping them come to light, things like that, always drew me back. And then I was like, let's go ahead and move forward and start a business. And so when I launched Social Graces the first time, I had realized that my message wasn't clear. My message was very muddy, and people wanted me to fix them or fix their kids. And that's when I realized behavior is not about fixing. Behavior is about identifying and adjusting and digging within yourself to ensure that you have the opportunity to be the best version of yourself. So it took me a few more years to get there. And now, through the grace of God, really, being my own client, things like that, I'm able to relaunch Social Graces and come full circle and clearly state my message. I'm here to help guide you, be the accountability partner that you need so you can see the value you bring to your everyday activities, your everyday world, really. And so that's how it was born.
I love that. So what would you describe a behavior as, or what is a behavior to you?
Behavior is a daily, repeatable action that you do that impacts your daily decisions. So it's kind of that's why it's really easy to get stuck on a behavioral loop, is because if you don't really look at that behavior as an action, it's what I've always done. It's just how my mom's done it. It's how my family does it.
This is who I am.
This is who I am. Exactly. You trade it in as a trait versus a behavior that can be adjusted. And so that's the biggest difference, is making sure that people come off of autopilot and realize just because you've done it for so long doesn't mean that you can't change it.
Ooh, I love that. I really love that. So you had talked about teenagers and kids, and one of the things you mentioned is that your husband and your kids and you started balancing full behavioral interventionist, and it taught you the must find balance.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit more about that.
So a great example is my son. And when he was in elementary school, I'm in the thicket of being in special ed and fully in that behavioral mindset. My son is incredibly stubborn. And so he was struggling with me to do his homework. And so we kind of got into it. And he's like, will you quit treating me like one of your students, Mom? And I was like, well, then quit acting like one. And I was like, light bulb went off. That's where I must balance. And so from that point forward, I really had to take a step back and use the tools that I used every day and balance it with the compassion and the empathy and understanding of, this is still my child. This is still my world. It's not for everybody. And so that's where it's like, that's where that balance point comes. Same with my husband. There's been plenty of times to where he's like, quit analyzing me. And it's like, okay, I got to stop. I got to step back and not be that always in watching the behavior, understanding, analyzing, things of that. And so if you can balance the two and realize that you're just as human as the next person, even though, yes, I see things differently, that is a critical must, because then my loved ones start viewing me differently.
I love that explanation. And I can think of so many different situations in my own life where it's hard to turn off that this is what I do, this is who I am when you're around loved ones. And I've lost friends because I work a lot and I love talking about making films, movies, podcasts, anything.
Yeah.
And not everybody wants to talk about that.
Exactly. It's and because you have such that knowledge, you speak over their head.
Yes.
But in our minds, when we're talking about those things that we're so passionate about, everybody should just know it.
Yes.
And they
because
don't.
it's so awesome.
And it's so obvious. But it's not for them. And that's where learning to look and reflect into yourself and find that balance point And that builds that communication, and you have to be aware of body language, and you have to be aware of tone, all those different signals that allow us to be completely within that driver's seat to go, oh, wait, hold on. Let me back it up. What would you like to talk about today? So
Yes.
it's incredibly important to make sure that you find your balance with your family, because we always show everything to our family way more than what we show the rest of the world too. So they will a lot of times get the brunt of the bad side and the excess of the good side. So
Very, very well said. Yes. I want to go back. You had mentioned that you yourself were your own client for a little while. And I really, really like that, because in the business world, that's how you should treat yourself as well.
yes.
And I am going to go back to filmmaking for a second, but I need to, and I'm working on it, treat myself like my own client. I'm going to take 2 hours today, for example, and I'm going to create my own video content for my company.
Yeah.
And so I love that you took that step and you recognized that you needed to be your own client first.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
So my deep dive of my process has been about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with behaviors, it is not a quick fix in any way, shape, or form. Even if you were one of those people who's super aware of what's going on, it takes time to rewire your brain. Across any psychiatrist, any behaviorist, any self-help, you'll find in one way or another, that's what they refer to, is you need to rewire your brain. And so for me, negativity was always way easier to see, to feel, and to just live. And so my husband is the opposite. He's always find the silver lining. And for the last 25 years, he's like, you've got to find the positive. I didn't know how to find the positive because it just wasn't wired that way. So for the last 2 years, I have been deep diving into that behavior. And I was able to rewire the brain through gratitude. And once I was able to realize that gratitude is, for me, what I call the linchpin. It's the one that holds all of my links together. And I practice it daily. And now positivity, I can find it way faster than I've ever found it in my life. And good things continue to roll my direction because I have given my brain the right thing to look for. It's not about manifesting or positive energy. It's about, what do you want to look for? That's the behavior I had to focus on.
Wow. And so since your husband was more like that over the last 25 years that you've been together, and probably his whole life, would you say that, quote unquote, good things come to him? And maybe you were looking at that being like, how is that possible? And nothing's happening for me.
Yes, absolutely. Because yes, we still had our struggles, but it never affected him. It didn't stress him out like it stressed me out. And so the worry would consume me, or I would get so stressed that I would take it out on him, and then we'd end up in a fight, and he'd have to walk away because he didn't want to see that side. And then we would revamp and we would get back on track and we would be good. So now though that I'm finally on his page, holy cow, life is so much easier.
Oh, I bet.
Because to not have to worry every day and have the anxiety and the stress of where's my next, don't get me wrong, I still think about that stuff, but I don't excessively worry about it because I found that gratitude will always find my path. And that worked for me. That was my connecting. So.
Wow. Are there any other behaviors you've changed?
Oh, I've had tons of behaviors. I mean, really, that every single day there's a behavior, whether it is, I work the 9-to-5 job. And so towards the end, when I started launching Social Graces, it was, I would wake up and just dread going to my computer. And then my attitude changed. And then, so I had to go whoa, we're falling backwards. We're slipping into old habits. Let's reset. What do I need to do? And then that's when I was like, pull the trigger. You need to launch and you need to do your own thing because you're mentally ready. And soon as I allowed myself to realize and come to that aha, it was like I didn't have that negativity following me. And so that's why behavior takes time, is because you have to be aware of what you're doing day in and day out to notice those little things. If you've conquered your behavior, if you slip back, because life is going to circle around and around and around. And if you're not strong enough or not aware of it, then you're going to go right back. And you can be 10, 15 years and have something trigger that sends you back to old habits. And now you got to dig back out of it. But if you're aware of it, it's going to take you a whole lot less time.
Wow. I love this stuff. So you've mentioned social graces and we talked a little bit about it, but tell me, what is social graces?
Social graces is a 2-part opportunity for individuals and companies. That's the 2 parts. I don't just work with individuals. I work with companies. And what we do is, on the individual side, is a person will come and we'll have our first discussion and determine, is this the right fit? First and foremost, because if it's an opportunity for someone to move forward, then yes, I can. If they're in a position to where they're still stuck in the past, they still need more assistance, that's out of my scope. That needs to be, but I'm still going to help you find the right counselor, the right psychiatrist, or whatever therapist you're needing. I will help guide you that direction, even if it's not with me. On the company side, I do things a little bit differently. So one of the big things that I work with companies on is creating the culture, because behavior in the workplace statistically is, I just learned this number, 85% of companies will deal with interpersonal relationship issues. It's broken down to, in a year's time, anywhere from 9 to 15 weeks of that year, a manager is dealing with that interpersonal issues, overdoing their tasks. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge numbers. So what I do is I work with companies to realize the different personalities within the companies, how to deal with those relationships, and how to take accountability, 100% responsibility for your own of what you're bringing to your day in and day out of your job. So we go through those different things. I use a company content of color code, and I am certified to train that course. And we do different activities for team building, and I do a couple of different options of, depending on how big your company is, if you need 4 hours, a whole day type of thing. But ultimately, I run this one program. So those are the 2 things that Social Graces offers. And on the individual side, what I really want people to understand is I offer a couple of different options as bridges, depending on where you're at. Mainly, though, 6 weeks for one behavior. So it's somebody who's like, okay, I know that I keep hitting the wall and I want to make sure that I can start either exercising. Let's use exercising as an
I
example,
love that.
because that's everybody's New Year's resolution.
Yes.
I'm going to quit eating junk food and I'm going to start. All you're doing is replacing a behavior for a behavior, but you're not fixing it. You don't know why. So that's why most people fail, because it's a replacement within the same category, but you're not addressing the why. Why do you want to change? What is the benefit within yourself, not your external benefits? Oh, because I want to lose weight.
Mhm.
Everybody wants to lose weight.
Mhm.
So those are some of the big things that we dive into. And so when you're working with me for those 6 weeks, we focus solely on that one. You're going to realize how many layers are connected to that behavior That's why I don't want to have people come in and be like, okay, I need to change this. I need to change this. Because then you're going to overwhelm yourself and you're going to bail because you're not giving yourself the opportunity to win.
What are some of the behaviors that most people come to you to change? Or is it just a wide gamut?
Well, it's very wide. For the ones that I've talked to in the past, a lot of them are internal thought processing. I'm stuck. I think this way. I worry too much. I don't know how to get out of my head. Those are a lot of the big ones that I've worked with. And getting out of your own head, getting out of your own way is one of the hardest ones, simply because you're not sure if you're willing to change because you're scared or you have so many insecurities. And until you address those, I can only talk with you. I cannot fix that. I cannot address until you're ready and willing to face that. Key word is willingness. And so, but yeah, a lot of them are those internal head games.
Interesting. And I want to add too that perhaps it's a way of feeling comfort. Like it's comfortable to tell yourself every morning, I don't want to do this. Because it's a repeated word or phrase and you're like, this is comfort. Okay, this is how I wake up every morning.
Yep. And my husband's famous phrase is, you need to be comfortable at being uncomfortable.
Ooh, yes, absolutely.
Because growth cannot happen without being out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, 100%, no matter what that growth is.
No matter what.
Yeah. All right. Before we started rolling, you had told me that because you're a coach, it's different than being a therapist.
Very much so.
Tell me about the difference, because maybe not everybody knows what that difference might be and why it's important to make that difference.
So as a coach, as a behavioral life coach, my role is to be your accountability partner, first and foremost, and to help you find your path to move forward. And it allows me to ask you questions that you navigate and you answer. I don't provide you with advice. I can provide you with perspectives, and I can discuss things that have worked for me. In the end, though, as a coach, my client is solely the one driving every session, no matter whether it is as a company or as an individual. Yes, I'm going to give you the information. You get to choose how you move forward with it. As a psychiatrist or a counselor, anything of that, they're working with you to heal your trauma, heal your past, help you identify what is your hangups, and they can diagnose.
Yes.
And I do not do any of that. Yes, there will be some reflection of what has worked for you in the past. Again, I'm going to only refer to your past in positives, or what are your truths, or what are your challenges, things like that. Mostly, though, as a coach, we're always looking forward.
I love that.
Yeah.
So how has starting this new aspect of your life, how has it changed your life? And starting, tell me about that.
It's changed everything. Because I was scared out of my mind to launch a business. I don't have a degree in business. I don't know what it means. And at that point, it was like, this is no different than any other fear. Step up, conquer it, and you'll get what you seek. Because those fears, those limitations are simply a mindset. And if you tell yourself you're scared, you're going to be scared. If you tell yourself that you're not good enough, you're not going to be good enough. So that's where I bounce back to finding my gratitude, finding, okay, what strengths do I have? And so this just concrete sealed everything that I've been working on for the last 2 years of how to catapult myself forward through self-understanding and making sure that I live in the driver's seat every single day. So that way I can show up and be the best version.
I love that you said that I can be in the driver's seat every single day. Because I think that a lot of us don't feel like we are.
Yeah,
Whether we work for ourselves, whether we work for a corporation. And a
absolutely.
little history about me, I used to work for HP.
Ooh.
Yeah, so when you said that you do the corporate stuff, I was like, oh, I know what all this means.
Yeah. And corporations struggle with communication.
Yes, they do.
Yet we are expected to do what the upper management says, even though the line between upper management and the delivery, it's like the telephone game.
Mhm.
It's going to get lost somewhere in the middle, and you hope and pray that you got enough of the information.
Yes. Yeah, through my master's program, we did a lot of study on leadership and how to be a good leader. And that was one of the things that I remember studying is that there are some corporations that it's a rule where we, in the higher up position, CEOs, we're going to tell the next level down this, and then you're going to keep that from them and then tell the next level, and then they're going to keep even more information.
Yep.
And so you as the individual contributor, all you're getting is we're going through layoffs.
Yep.
Can you tell me why? Like, great, I'm about to get laid off, but can you tell me why? Nope.
Yep. And one of the people I draw from is Simon Sinek.
Ooh, yeah.
And his book, what the reason, or which one is it? It's The Reason Why. I think it's Why. I think it's just titled Why. And it goes through all of that same stuff. If you do not give somebody, my husband, he learned the term, and I just grabbed a hold of it, the WIFM. What's in it for me?
Ooh, okay.
And if you don't tell your team what's in it for them, why do they have any inclination or care to be a part of it? If they're not going to get anything out of it, and tomorrow they could be laid off, why give 100%? Again, those are the behaviors that if we don't dig into why, you won't ever be able to fully commit. Commit to yourself, commit to your company, commit to your friends and family, if you don't know why you do what you do.
I love that. And I want to poke at that just a little bit. So it's very well known that HP Boise is closing down in a couple of years. I still have a lot of friends that work there. And in this closing down, I know that some information I probably shouldn't be sharing, but people know that their job is going to be gone in a couple of years. And maybe perhaps they're not showing up at work, whether mentally and or physically. How could they change that behavior? Because let's say they do want to hang on for 2 years for whatever reason they have, rather than going out and seeking a job today. How can they change that behavior to like, okay, I have 2 years left in this company?
Well, what I would, just knowing a very high level of that concept, for me, the behavior of checking out means that you're trying to safeguard yourself, your security.
Oh, yes.
And so you don't want to get hurt. You know what's coming, so you're preparing for it. Yet, if you can flip your script and be like, okay, I need to prepare. So if I give 110% all the way until they give me my pink slip, then I can commit to my next job to be like, hey, I knew layoffs were coming. So it gives you a better standing. It's all about flipping. Why do you want to safeguard yourself? What securities are you trying to truly protect? Your reputation, your sanity, or what is it? And if that person doesn't dive into that individual behavior of understanding the root, they're just going to do the path of least resistance every time. I'm just going to check out.
Wow. I can see that how that could work for so many things, like money, for example. One of my, you could call it a behavior, is I have a scarcity mindset. And I don't like money. I do enjoy receiving it, but even when it comes down to having to put together my invoice for my clients, I will procrastinate until I'm like, Steph, you need to get paid. The job is done. They are expecting this invoice. It's going to take you 5 minutes.
Yep.
How about you put it together and then send it in a really pretty email that says thank you?
So with that, under the scarcity, that's where you need to dive in and go, what is it about the scarcity that keeps me connected or keeps me safeguarded?
Well, that I can answer goes back to my childhood. I was raised that way. We were a very poor family, and so I grew up in Hawaii. My family's originally from Hawaii on my dad's side.
Okay.
And when I was 9 years old, we left the islands, and my dad says that it was to provide us with a better future, us as kids, because an island is an island.
Yep.
And there's only, like, you can have a beautiful future there, but my dad thought that he wanted to give us a better future here on what's called the mainland. And I think it was in that process, us kids understood we left because we couldn't afford to live there anymore. And it was live with Tutu, which means grandma, live with Tutu and Papa, or not live there at all.
Yeah.
And so my parents chose to not live there at all and move to the mainland. And yeah, that's where I think that's where it all started, was that experience of living there and eating pork and beans every single night and maybe some rice. And then to the point
So it's a protection.
Yeah.
Okay. So under protection, you have to then you go through the different scripts that you can hear yourself. Do I really have to live this way? First of all, is it something I have to do in order to survive, to keep that security? Do I do it because I simply am on autopilot and it's what I've always done and I just accept it? Or third, is this true? When you evaluate those three perspectives for starters, that's going to give you the next direction. So when we're working through it, if you can honestly answer those, then you know, okay, where do I evaluate next?
Wow.
That's so stare processing. That's what I call unpacking.
Oh, I like that. And there's a lot to unpack there.
Always is.
I know what I'm journaling about tonight.
Yep. And that's a great way to be aware of it, is through your journaling. A lot of times people are so stuck on autopilot that they can't even recall what they did 10 minutes ago.
Yes. Yes.
Again, those are those behaviors because you're so stuck on this pattern that it's just what I got to do. I wake up, I drink my coffee, I get in the car, I take my commute, I do my job, I come home, make dinner, sit on the couch, watch TV, and do it all over again. And they couldn't tell you what was done because there's no more challenge to the mind, because we're on the path of least resistance. Your brain will always choose the path of least resistance. It's a known fact across every neurosurgeon and neuroscience that when we develop our skills, that's why a lot of times people become bored at their job, because now they've learned it. They know it so well. They could do it, as so many people say, I can do it with my eyes closed. Well, you're no longer challenging yourself. You're no longer giving your brain something new to learn. So let's check out. That's the easiest way to do it.
That makes so much sense. You're giving me so much to think about.
But your journaling will reawaken. What did you do? Where did you find your challenges? Where did you find your strengths?
Wow. So then through that process, let's say we've gone through the process and we've uncovered why Steph thinks this way, why, this and that, then what?
So the next step, once you've identified, okay, this is truly my why I do the behavior. Now we're going to go through and be like, okay, what feels natural? First of all, does it feel natural to keep doing it this way? Or are you doing it this way because you've always done it? And so then we go through the different options of what are the natural feels. Okay, so if I suggest this option or this option, which one feels more comfortable? So therefore you can start teasing the brain with new concepts that'll still get you that end result that you want. It's like a GPS. I heard this the other day. GPS will always get you to that final destination. But if there is a detour, it just reroutes you. So that's what I'm helping people do, is reroute. Still getting to that final destination, making sure that they are meeting their internal values, meeting their internal motives. So therefore, isn't forced to make those changes. So once we get those determined and we go through the process, then we build together, mostly directed by the client, an action plan. What do you want? What's one small step that you want to make this week? Okay, well, I want to make sure, going back to your example, for all my invoices, I want to knock them out all at the same time. So I'm going to dedicate 2 hours and I'm just going to get all my invoices done in 2 hours. Just get them done and out of the way. Okay, so that's your one step for the week. Don't worry about anything else. You're just going to write down if there's any challenges. You're going to write down if there's any, I got it done in an hour. Okay, well, why?
Yeah.
First and foremost, why was it so easy for you? What made it so simple? Because it really didn't take any time. Okay, how'd that make you feel? Then we're going to start connecting your emotions to your wins. Once you start stacking, then you're starting to rewire that brain and you're starting to rewire the self-ability to go, oh, that's what that feels like. That wasn't so scary. That wasn't so overwhelming. Okay, I can do that again. So it's giving yourself, so to say, your checkbox and your win all in one, and you learn to be confident that you truly can trust your decisions. That's the final step, is learning to trust your decisions.
I like that. And I can see this over my example with money, but going back to your example about like working out and stuff too, is maybe the first step is getting a gym membership.
Actually, before that even,
I
would say get a pair of workout shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Once you get your workout shoes, put them by the door.
Oh.
All you got to do is put them by every day. You don't even put them on.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to get in the habit of pulling them out of your closet, sticking them next to your door.
Wow.
That's how small of steps I'm talking about.
Wow.
Because when you start changing behaviors, people automatically get overwhelmed super easy.
Mm-hmm.
They start overthinking. Don't overthink it. Simply just be aware. I want to work out, so I'm going to put my shoes here. And you're like, my shoes are there. I need to work out. Oh, my shoes are still there, and I haven't worked out. Maybe I should work out. I'll do it tomorrow. Put my shoes away, though. Every night, you got to put them away, so therefore you have to pull them back out again. You're activating that brain.
Wow.
So those are the steps that we take. I'm talking micro steps in order to make long-term gains, because we don't want to overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
It's too easy in today's world.
It really is, because there is a lot going on out there.
And there's always layers.
Yeah.
Always layers. Because you could realize, I don't work out because I am ashamed. I'm fearful. I'm overwhelmed. I want to live up to the Jones. And you really don't want to work out. So then the next step is admitting, I don't want to work out. That's not the way I want to get fit. Mm-hmm. And that's okay too. Mm-hmm. So when you're going through these, it's not just all about realizing what you want. It's realizing, admitting what you don't want. That's a huge part of it.
I'm silent. I'm speechless. I'm sorry. My mind is blown.
And behavior is deep. It really is. And that's why when people ask, well, what do you do? Well, it's very individualized.
Yeah.
It really is.
It really is. Because I can see both situations. I am a person who goes to the gym pretty much every single day. But hearing that scenario, I'm trying to think back to when I did make the decision, like, okay, this is who I am now, is the person who goes to the gym every day. But I think it took me a long time to get there.
Because you changed your identity in your head.
Yeah.
Your belief of who you are is what changed. And then you were able to fulfill what you believed.
Wow.
And if you don't believe it, you won't do it.
Wow. Yeah. Because now, if I don't make it to the gym, I don't feel that great.
Yep.
This Monday, today's Wednesday, we're recording on a Wednesday. Monday, our building complex here at the studio, we had the fire extinguisher people come to check on your fire extinguishers. We all had to be here by 7 a.m. in our individual suites and just wait. You know, one of those, like the plumber is like, I'll be there between 8 and noon. I was here at 7, which means I could have gone to the gym at 6 in the morning, but then I would have had to get up earlier, and then I would have had to go to bed late the night before. And I just could not make that happen. So I came to work without going to the gym, and I did not feel good.
Yeah.
And then now I have to make it up.
Okay. So when you're in that situation, you have to make it up, or in order for your brain to feel you've accomplished who you are. That's the difference. Ooh. It's all about verbiage. So if you can get your brain to understand, and that's where guilt comes in.
Yes.
That's where you have the anxiety and the word, all those negative limitations come from our verbiage of what the story we tell ourselves. So when you're telling yourself, I have to make it up, now you're putting pressure on yourself. Now you're putting guilt. Or you can say, it was out of my control. Monday was what it is. It was part of my job. I had to make the shift. Now, in order for me to feel my best, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And we're going to move forward. So therefore, you can let what happened in the past go, and you're looking forward.
Fine, I won't go to the gym on Saturday.
If that is what makes you feel, but don't do it because of guilt. Do it because of who you want to be, and you want to prove to yourself, I am that person who goes every day. I am that person because that's what makes me feel good. That's my best version. But if you're doing it because you have to, because if I don't, I'm a bad person, now you're living in limitations. Now you're living in guilt, and that's not your best version.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yep. That's what I do. That's how I help people.
Well, everybody listening, I hope you really take all of this into account here. And I want to mention too, you had mentioned you're offering something
I am.
To our listeners. Tell us about that.
I am doing a special as a thank you to Essence of You and you, Steph. Anybody who tells me that they heard Essence of You and this podcast, I'm doing a 50% off for the month of June. And so all you got to do is say, I heard you on Essence of You, and you get that 50% off discount.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I want to make sure that I give back, because for me, I believe that all companies, if we unite together and we build on each other and support each other, just like in Boise Business Babes, we're uplifting. And when I'm my best version, you get to be your best version, and the world's a better place.
Yes. And one thing I'm noticing while talking to you, and anyone who's listening may not be able to see it, but you can hear it in your voice, you're passionate about this.
Sometimes overly passionate.
That's okay, because I'm overly passionate about the Goonies movie, okay? It's my favorite movie. Nobody argue that with me.
You know, I have not seen the Goonies since I was a kid. I do remember the Goonies. I love Baby Ruth.
Yes, yes. Well, yeah, so you're like, this passion for this is very evident. When you were a kid, did you ever think that this was something you might be doing?
Absolutely not. No. I honestly believed that I would either be a math teacher.
Wow.
Or I would be an ER nurse.
Two very different things.
Except they have one thing in common. Challenge you.
Yeah.
Everything about math is challenging.
Yes, it is.
And most people hate math. And so that was my day in and day out opportunity to always have to be engaged. And math came easy to me. And then as an ER nurse, I'm there helping people. You never know what you're going to get. And so therefore, that's the daily challenge. You don't live this life of mundane. And I found myself in mundane jobs, and I hated it. So that's why I'm like, I know that I need challenge every day. But to run my own business, no, never thought of it in a million years.
Wow. It's a real treat to be here as you're launching this and doing
I'm
this.
so
And
excited.
yeah.
It's definitely, it's my purpose. I do believe that it is my purpose to help people see the world in new perspectives so they get to pick which version they want.
Absolutely. I love that. And you said purpose, which sounds like the color purple. And we are both actually wearing these purple colored outfits. And this was not planned.
Nope.
I pulled this out of my closet this morning. So I was like, how about you dressed a little nicer than just a t-shirt today, Steph? And so I pulled this out and then you walked in that. Tell me why purple is so important.
Purple is a big color for me for two reasons. One, it is passion and it is royalty. And so that's what Social Graces is about, is being passionate about what we as individuals get to do every day. And royalty means that we're at the highest peak of our own individual journeys. And not to mention, I got to throw it out there, purple was one of my brother's favorite colors. My brother has passed away. And so to honor him, to honor my family, all of that kind of stuff, purple just fit.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Tell me if you don't want to answer this question. What would your brother say about you today if, as he sees you walking down this path?
Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, absolutely, you can.
You're batshit crazy.
Really?
Oh, yeah. My brother was, he and I were just under 4 years apart. So we had a fairly large gap. We were like oil and water all through our teenage years. And so, but as we grew and time had passed, I learned my brother was very passionate about literature.
Oh, okay.
And so he would come home 10, 11 o'clock at night after he got done working, stuff like that. And he's like, hey, come here, come here. So we'd sit up and we would read and analyze poetry together.
Ooh, oh, wow.
And so my brother had a love and a passion for the lit and all of that stuff. So I learned that I don't know if you know who E.E. Cumming is.
Yes.
Okay, that man wrote poetry like no one else. If you can analyze his poetry, you've got a genius mindset to decipher a lot of his poems, and that's what we would do. And so through that, I think that taught me how to look at things differently to still get the same end result. Because my brother would see it one way, I would see it one way, and yet we're still reading the same poem. So that was definitely one of the things that I learned again over these last 2 years of really going back through and understanding why I have the perspectives I do. And those little weird things that we do with our families when we're young that lay that foundation really do play a part. And if you don't openly and actively investigate why, they're just going to lay under the dirt and they're not going to get to shine. So for me, understanding who I am at a full embodiment, that's where I get to grow and be the best version and provide shade and beauty through the tree of life for others to enjoy. So that's my passion. That's where it comes from. And my family is outstanding, but they will tell you I am batshit crazy.
I think mine would probably say the same about me. They just haven't told me that yet.
Oh they have. My sisters tell me that. My husband tells me that. And they're like, we still love you though.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, it's all good.
That's great.
Yep. So I would not be where I am today without my family. I'm incredibly blessed to have the camaraderie, the unit, and even though we don't live all in the same area, we are incredibly close. And so I have that strong family unit to fall on.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yep.
That's amazing. I like that. I want to make sure we've hit. One of the things that you had talked to me about is that behaviors are neither good or bad.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. When you hear the term behavior, what
Mhm.
immediately comes to your mind?
I guess you could say, like, just based on life, is that behavior equals bad. Like, you've done something wrong. Maybe you need, well, the way I grew up, maybe you need a spanking.
Yep. So most people, and that's why I brought that up, is because behavior is simply an action. You, as the individual, assign what that consequence is as good or bad and equate it to the action. So we give and assign those negative and positives. Ultimately, though, behavior is nothing more than action. Simply taken, if you have one culture that believes that the behavior of direct eye contact is a good thing, and you have another culture that direct eye contact is a bad thing, how is that action the same thing?
Oh.
It's all in perception.
Mhm.
It's all in what we are raised to believe that action is good or bad. So when you're going through the process of unpacking, you're then assigning, well, I feel it's good, well, I feel this one's bad. And then that's when I asked you, is it the truth? When you evaluate, is this true or is it simply just the action? It allows you to free up your mind to reassign it or just be okay with letting it go. And you don't have to name it good or bad. It simply is what it is. So when we evaluate and we are starting to create that action plan together, and you want to be like, okay, I need to do better. Well, that's subjective. So, what in your eyes is good action? What is bad action? Or what is good behavior? What is bad behavior? So, it's all about that verbiage, turning the words to make sure that whatever your life experience, whatever your culture is, your religion, whatever those verbiages are that align with what creates a path that is natural and uplifting and fulfilling, those are the actions, those are the behaviors that you want to focus on.
Wow. I like how you put it that way. Because, yeah, you're right. Most of us see the word or hear the word behavior and think bad.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. So many things to think about and journal about now. What experience most shaped the person you are today?
There's so many.
Ooh.
I have learned through, at a young age, losing my brother, losing my dad, uniting with my family, that don't take the world for granted. So we get one, as corny as it sounds, we get one shot. We really do. And if you do not take what we have every single day, when you wake up and you get to take a breath today, execute. You were given a shot. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in nature, whatever your higher being is, they provided you another opportunity to be the best version. And if you haven't quite figured out what your path is, they're giving you another opportunity to find that path so you can give back, so you can pass on whatever it is you're meant to pass on. And so the experience of losing loved ones at a young age and having such a united family taught me truly life is a gift. Do not take it for granted. That's probably the biggest thing that shaped me. And then I solidified it with my husband. My husband and I are high school sweethearts.
Ooh.
Yep. Started dating at 16.
Love it.
Got married at 21. And we have grown up together. We work every single day. And marriage is a job. I will say it takes both of us to make sure that we're checked in order to get the best out of our marriage. And we are coming up on 25 years next year of marriage. So we work hard at it. And so that's my other blessing is, and person who's shaped me is getting to be on this journey with my best friend. Like, life is 10 times better when you can have fun with someone. Like,
oh, absolutely.
take the road together. So for me, my husband has made, I always tell people, he's my better half, because I would probably be either a gypsy on the road or like stuck in some weird, crazy house without him. He's always been my better half. So ultimately, in the end, that's what shaped me more than anything else, is the fact that I've learned at a young age, don't take life for granted.
That's a beautiful, beautiful message.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And congratulations on nearly hitting 25 years
Yay!
next year.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Yep. I again, when you grow up with your significant other, you can't imagine life with them or without them. Like, it blurs all together, and you're like, it is what it is. Like, that's him. That's my love. That's my better half. That's my soulmate, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's beautiful. That is just beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Where does your personal story intersect with the work you do in the world?
My personal story intersects in the world with my company when I realized and I tried to get away from doing all things behavior. So when I went into the corporate world, and that's where it intersected, because then I had people asking me, friends, family, well, what do you do here? Well, how would you do this? Like, started asking for these behavioral advices. Like, it was a magnet, and I couldn't get away from it. And so that's where the intersection. And when I started working in the corporate world, I started out as a CSR, and then I went into accounts receivable. And once I dove into accounts receivable, I really understood the layers of corporate world, and their communication is very broken. And I learned that if you're not in a high up position, your voice usually got stifled. And I got my hand slapped because I would try to teach and I would try to help people. And again, I just got sucked back into those behaviors. And I was like, it doesn't matter if you're in the corporate world, educational world, stay-at-home mom, whatever your world is, behavior's everywhere. And that's where that intersection collided, and it just became one path.
Wow.
So here I am. Yay!
It's amazing what working in the corporate world can teach us, especially as we go off on our own.
Yeah. It was something I never expected.
Yeah.
At all. I got voluntold into that position, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was taking a break from and just not working. And my husband, he needed some help. And so he's like, come help me. Oh, it was a new what they call a acquisition. And so I jumped in, and the manager of the shop that was purchased thought that I was part of my husband's company.
Oh.
And I was like, no, I don't. He's like, but you know exactly what you're doing. I'm like, he taught me 3 minutes ago. Of course I know what I'm doing because he taught me. He's like, but you just learned it. And I'm like, get out of my way. Let me do the job. So we went forward, and then they didn't have a CSR. And so he's like, well, you technically show me that you already work for, like, you know how to do Crash's stuff. How about you have a job? I said, well, can you work with me? Seems as your boss is my husband. Is that going to be a problem? He's like, nope, I need somebody who's strong. All right, I guess I got a job. So I got voluntold into the corporate world of auto body.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was a fabulous journey. I learned so much, and I have nothing negative at all to say about that previous company. And it was such a fabulous journey, even on the ugly sides, because it taught me exactly what I didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was saying earlier, is you have to be true to what you want and what you don't want. So I take every bit of my 3 years with them, a little over 3 years with them, and I locked it in. And it's part of my story now.
That's great. Yeah, my experience in corporate was such a learning experience, and I am so grateful for everything that happened through that experience
Yeah.
because it has shaped who I am today as a business owner, as a leader, as me.
Yeah. And that's one of the big things. Like, that's huge awareness. If you understand that even the good, the bad, and the ugly play a part in who we are today, because it allows us to ensure that if we've come across something that we don't like, we don't want to be like, we have that to draw on. So therefore, tomorrow we don't act like that, or we don't behave like that.
Yes.
So being grateful for, even because you can't have the good times without the bad times. So embrace it all.
Absolutely.
So that's huge awareness. That's a great thing to see.
Thank you. I've worked very hard on that.
Always does. Always takes time.
Yes, it does. Whew. Before I ask our closing question, maybe there are a couple of closing questions. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
Not off the top of my head. I think we got most of it.
Yeah.
I think for the most part. I loved going through, kind of diving into your own personal behavior and giving people the examples of kind of how we unpack and reestablish of the path and honor the wins and things like that. I think that was awesome. So other than that, I think we've hit it all.
Awesome. Good. When you hear the essence of you, what does that mean to you?
When I hear essence of you, it is, as strange as it is, the first time I heard it, it is the soul.
Ooh.
Your essence, your being, what's underneath without being visible. So when you bring your essence, you're bringing stuff that people can't see. It's your energy. That's to me. And if you can bring a positive essence, positive energy, you're going to attract it. And so I as soon as when you sent me the email and it said essence of you, I'm like, that is the coolest name. I'm like, let's start looking. So I pulled you up immediately on your YouTube, started listening to your stuff, and it was essence of you was passion, radiance, and it was what we couldn't see is what you bring. So I was like, very fitting.
Thank you. Well, and most of the time you don't talk about this aspect of yourself to you, like the general you.
Yeah.
We don't, even in groups of friends, we don't sit around and talk about this. It's maybe, did you watch the game last night if you're into sports, or how's the kid doing in school right now? And those are great questions, but for the most part, they're pretty surface.
Yep.
And so you don't get to really know who your friends and your family are if you don't dive into those conversations.
100%. And so when we go through that and think about your friend circle, the individuals that you convey and vomit your frustrations to, your wins to, they're your ride or dies, right?
Yeah.
And how many people do you truly have that are your ride or dies? My father always said, if you have more than 5 people that are your true friends, you are beyond abundantly blessed.
Wow.
I have 3 outside of my husband. That's it.
Yeah, mine's pretty limited as well.
And it's true. And when I can give, I don't have to hide anybody. I can show my full essence.
Oh, I love that.
To those people. Where if you're at work, if you're at a dinner or whatever, you're going to put on the appropriate personality.
Yes, yes, you're right. And when you put it that way too, I've got like maybe 2 people who really, really know, like, okay, Steph's in a mood.
Yep.
Nobody else, there are no moods that happen.
Yep. And that's the thing is like you have, and that was why when I heard your podcast name, it was like, that is so fitting, because when you're sitting here and you're having a dialogue, you make it so easy and you make it so comfortable to just let it be. And there's no awkward weirdness, anything like that. It's just, this is who it is.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Oh, thank you. I love hearing people's stories, and I'll tell you a little bit quickly. This started because most of the work that I do in film production is interviewing people and taking their stories and turning it into a very shortened version of what their story is, whether
Okay.
it's a documentary or a lot of the work that I've done is nonprofits.
Okay.
So you talk to people about, like, how did this nonprofit help you? And they tell you their story. And in talking to these people, I can only ask so many questions because I know the end result is going to be a video about XYZ. So I'm only going to ask you about XYZ. But in our conversation, they might like put in a little drop of information here or this or
Yep.
that. And all I want to do is learn more. And there are occasions where I'll be like, ooh, tell me more. And then I pull all this footage in to go to edit it. And I'm like, Steph, that's 2 hours of a conversation that, yes, I'm so glad you both had that. You don't need it. And now you have to watch through 2 hours of this
There
just
you
to
go.
find the 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's a learning curve for sure.
Yes, it is. And I still do it. Although I've gotten a little bit better about, okay, let's keep it on track. I'm not going to ask you about your favorite color, for example, because it doesn't need to be in a video about how this nonprofit helped you.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is through learning how to maximize and get the message out, because we do have short attention spans anymore. So short, sweet, to the point, yet interactive and connecting and empathetic
Yes.
is such critical skills to learn how to do that. So kudos to you for learning that trade, because I'm still working on it.
Thank you. Well, and I'm sure that you're going to like really learn a lot about that as you talk to people, because you're going to come across so many different people in this work.
Absolutely.
Oh my, I can't wait.
Neither can I.
We'll have to do a check-in, like let's say in 6 months and then in a year.
Yay.
You want to do that?
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. All right, final and closing question. When everything external falls away, like our titles and our labels, who are you at your core?
At my core, I am the individual that if you show me loyalty and love and respect, I will tenfold return it to you. That is who I am at my core. Sometimes to a fault. And as a parent of 2 children, as a wife, as a daughter, sister, like when I am fully invested, I am that loyal, loving, compassionate, diehard that if you need something, I'll give it my shirt off my back. That is who I am at my core. If you cross the other side, I will leave you stranded. If you burn me. And so for me at my core, it is so incredibly passionate to find respect. Like, I will respect anyone first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to earn it, in my opinion. You burn it, it's gone. So I'm always, because that's one of the things, like, oh, you teach your kids that you need to earn your respect. Do you really? You're a human being. And so if you show me just kind and courteous, I'm automatically going to give you that respect because you just gave me what I need. And so at my core, I love being a wife, a mother, and that person who cares for you deeply within my inner circle.
Beautiful, beautiful answer. And I'll just throw out really, I'm very similar, is I respect first and foremost, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
And then you teach me that that there's no respect coming the other way, and that's it. Then we're done.
It's not you're not meant to be in my life is the way I see it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
Yeah. And you were here to teach me that lesson. Thank you very much.
And we all need that because, again, you can't have the good without the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And until you find that balance, you will continue to seesaw.
Yes.
So that's how I would end my summary of who I am without a title.
It's beautiful. I love it. And I love you even more because, yes, sister, me too.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This is going to be a bit more than just a podcast guest relationship. I'm going to state that right now.
I will second that notion.
Awesome. Good. I love it. And thank you all for listening and watching, and come back next time for another episode of The Essence of You. And remember that 50% discount in June. I'm going to add 2026.
Yes, please.
And I'll make sure that this podcast comes out very soon so that people can get that discount.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.